we have fire. To the coal. Hello, welcome back to another episode from Pale Horse Survival and Tactical. I'm glad you could join me. I'm Bill, and what we're going to take a look at today is a European white birch. Actually, there's a few of them here. These are fairly small. They're the ones I'm going to use for the demonstration in this video. They in the wild they do get quite a bit bigger than this. And as equally as important as it is to identify botanicals with their leaves on, the botanicals that provide useful resources and herbal uses, it's also equally as important to be able to identify them when they have shed their leaves, if they're deciduous, whether it's a tree or a shrub. And this is no exception here. The European white birch is pretty easy to identify. It has a very distinct white papery bark to it. It's actually known as a paper birch, and it always has these very distinct black markings. Sometimes they look like slash marks on the trunks. There's actually 3 here, and we'll get up and do a little closer look here. And incidentally, the birch trees are what the very medicinal chaga mushroom grows on in the northern latitudes. And birch is a very, very valuable tree to know for a number of different reasons. The bark contains volatile oils. The white portion of the bark, and you can see here how it flakes off. It just comes off like this. Why they call it paper birch. The nice thing about the birch bark is it'll even burn when it's wet. So if you're in a primitive situation and birches are found in a lot of the mountainous areas, you remove some of that bark, and it works great as a flame extender if you're in winter conditions and the tinder and the fuel is a bit damp. This bark will even burn when it's wet. It's one good thing about it. It makes a good bow drill wood. You can find on my channel under birch bow drill. I made a complete bow drill kit from scratch out of this, and worked very well. Makes a really good bow drill wood. Also has other medicinal uses. I did a identification video on my channel under birch. You can find that. It explains more of the medicinal uses. Today what we're going to do is we're going to profile the edible birch buds. It's in very early spring right now, and so the trees are just starting to bud out. You can see the buds here, and birch buds are very edible. A lot of tree buds are different tree species. Mulberry, birch, maples, to name a few. And birch buds are one of my favorite. They taste very similar to sunflower seeds. And you can get them just when they're in this stage here. Try to give you guys a good shot. And just as they're starting to burst open and produce leaves, you can still eat these. You can even eat the young leaves if they're really small, and it makes a good viable springtime food resource. And the one thing to bear in mind is that the trees at this time of the year, when they are setting buds, they're putting all of their energy into producing these buds and the new crop of foliage for the season. Now, when I harvest, if you're in dire need for the food and you're starving to death, then by all means grab what you need. If you're just out recreationally foraging, always exercise responsible harvesting and reverence for nature. In other words, don't come in and just strip the tree, and don't strip an entire branch. The tree needs these buds in order to produce the leaves and branches on there. So when I harvest, if I'm just out recreationally harvesting, I'll come along and I'll grab one here and there. You just take that, pinch that bud off, pop it in your mouth. Eat it just as you would a sunflower kernel. Those are really good. Very similar to sunflower seeds, which is a very slight minty taste to it. And you can see there is tons of buds on here. I mean, if you were in dire need for the food source, you could harvest quite a few off here. But again, if you're just recreationally foraging, just grab a few here and there as a snack, and let the tree have its buds so it can set leaves. There's a whole bunch on here. And there's a bunch on these other trees here. I've seen big groves of these birch trees in the woods. And bring the screen around here so I can see myself. Here we are. Hello. Here's the bud. Those are really good. I'm going to do some more videos this spring on more buds, and also maple seed pods. Those are another one of my favorites. The little helicopter seed pods that come down out of the maple trees. And you can gather those things up by the thousands. And I'll show you how to dry them, to preserve them. And they make a really tasty snack. And it's a pretty decent, it's about a pea-sized seed in there. And they just rain those things down. So anyways, hope you enjoyed the video as much as I did making it for you. And it's another little tip you could add to your survival itinerary, your bushcrafting itinerary. Everybody have a great day or night, depending on where you're located, and I will see you all very soon on the next one. Everybody take care. Bye-bye.